Few riders in BMX ever get the chance to ride a custom frame they helped design. To then try and build a brand around those custom frames takes things to the next level. We'll meet Crazy Al Cayne, a lifelong BMXer who is trying to do just that. For those unfamiliar, Al is the man behind sugarcane.com and the Crazy Al Cayne YouTube channel. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, all three of you, I would highly recommend checking these out for all sorts of BMX goodies and extra stuff. There will be links down in the description below. Al has been running his custom frame for the past few seasons and even had a small run of them made that were available to the public. We were finally able to catch up with him this year at Hunterdon County BMX to discuss a little bit about Cayne Bike Co. Quick note before we get into things. As we were doing this interview, we didn't realize until about halfway through that the camera wasn't recording video.
Is this recording? Only goes recording.
Paul was holding the camera here, so by my account, it was his fault. Thankfully, the mic was recording and we were able to get the entire interview. So until the pictures come back, here are some moving waveforms for your viewing pleasure. So with that out of the way, my first question for Al was how he got involved with BMX.
Yeah, I was 11 years old when I started racing. This is back in like '84. My cousin Alan, he used to race at Newbridge Road BMX. That was our local BMX track. And he kind of got me into racing. So he was like, yo, there's a track in Newbridge, and you should come out and check it out. And ever since then, I've just been into BMX. I started off racing, started off in ABA, and just raced every weekend. It was a passion, it was a love, you know what I mean? During that same time, to kind of give you a background of why my website is the way it is, during that time, hip hop and video games, all these things were kind of the subculture of what we were doing back then. So, we were riding bikes, he was trying to rap, he was trying to make beats, he was trying to play video games, or trying to program video games, the Commodore 64 and all of that. So all of these things are happening at the same time, which is kind of what, ties into my website. My track got closed down in '87, but I stayed on a bike, and during that time, BMX, everything was developing. So, the street started getting popular, we were riding trails. So whatever BMX was going on at the time is what we were doing. And then in 2008 is when I really came back and was like, I'm gonna start doing it, I wanna start covering it, I wanna film, I wanna take photographs, all of this stuff, and really show, a side of BMX that people haven't seen at the time, So that's like a short, long story about it. I started covering BMX, hip hop, comics on my cable access show, which is called Crazy Al Cayne TV, which is CAC TV, that's where it came from. And I wanted to broadcast a show that combined all those things together. So it was, you watch the show on cable access in Manhattan, and you had, I was doing parodies and stuff, because back in the day I was doing parodies on the radio, hip hop parodies. So I would do parody videos, then it would be a BMX race, then it would be, I'm going to a comic book convention, I'm interviewing people from comic book conventions, and then back to music videos, and then parodies, and then it would go back to BMX. So if you're sitting in the house watching TV in the city back in the day, you're like, what the heck is going on? It's like, all these things are going on. So that whole thing turned into the website, which is CAC-TV. And then I eventually made it into sugarcane.com. And then 2018, I was like, I want to do like a little anniversary celebration for the website. And I was like, well, I don't want to do a t-shirt. I want to do something different. And I was like, I want to make a frame. I want to make a 20-inch frame, small run, some, real limited edition thing, nothing real crazy. But I wanted to reflect my style of riding, which is, I like to do everything on the same bike. I like to go trails, race, all that stuff on the same bike. So, but I like aluminum bikes. I like riding on aluminum bikes. I just like, I love chromoly, but I like the look, I like the feel of aluminum bikes. So I wanted to make an aluminum bike that kind of took care of all of those different aspects. So
that was something I was going to touch on, because it's kind of, I'm not going to say it's odd, but people build all around bikes, they're almost always chromoly.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
And it's kind of unique that you went with aluminum, and I've seen your videos, these things get abused.
Yeah.
And more abuse than aluminum usually sees.
Right.
And for you, it's just a comfort thing?
Yeah, it's a comfort thing. I mean, the technology, the way they build aluminum and stuff is way better than it was back in the day. And, as long as you ain't jumping off of roofs, the bike should be all right. It's way different than back in the day, you know what I mean? So, and I've had a bunch of aluminum bikes, and they haven't failed on me yet. Like nothing. I've ridden the Hypers, I've ridden The SE, treat them all the same, and they haven't, I haven't had those kind of problems with them. And they're a lot lighter, and I just like the way they look, So when I made this bike, I wanted it to be a big tubing, not just for the strength, but also for the look of it. So my plan was to incorporate with some of the art people that I know and have them do art pieces on the bikes. So before COVID hit, the whole plan was to have like 11 20-inch bikes, 11 24-inch bikes, and I had about 10 raw bikes. And the plan was to hook up with different artists and illustrators and have them do pieces on the bikes, and we were going to do a gallery. So it really incorporates all the things that I cover on the website, and but the bike is really the centerpiece of it all. So you come to the event, and like an actual comic book illustrator has a piece in the frame, So
that sounds awesome.
I'm going to do it now since things are opening up. Right. I'm definitely going to do that again. I'm definitely going to do that. Oh, but that was the initial plan. So, and as far as the bikes are concerned, I've been the same height for a long time, right? And you know how things evolved. Like it was 21 inch was like, oh, that's the size to get. That's the big size. Then it turned into 21 and a quarter. That's the size to get. So there was a year I just rode cruiser, right? Riding cruiser. Got back on the 21 inch. A 20 inch with a 21 inch top tube, and it just felt super small for me. That's when I started getting into bigger sizes. So I went from a 21 to 21 and a quarter. I rode somebody's 21.5 and fell in love with it. Then I rode the SE, which is a 27.5, and I really, really liked that length. But I wanted to have the nimbleness of a trail bike or a street bike, something like a good go-between. So I made a 21.8, which is pretty long, and I put a 14.6 in the back. So that way you can still have that nimbleness and play around with it, you know what I mean?
So I guess you did touch upon it a little bit. Was there like any frames or bikes you had in mind when you were designing this frame? I guess you did kind of touch upon that a little bit.
Well, you know what it was? I really liked the bend in the front of a lot of bikes. So like, Truth, they have that bend in the front. The down tube. What was the other? There was like a couple of other bikes that have that bend, but I really liked that bend. Right. So that was like the number one important thing. And then when I was going through the design, I found some tubing that I was like, it's really beefy. The size of the tubing was purposely done because I wanted something big to do artwork on. But I really like the bend. I think the bend is a really stylish look for a bike. So a lot of people are like, oh, it looks like a Daylight or a Truth. I'm like, yeah, well, I got love for those guys, and I like that style. So I definitely wanted to get that style, but also make it, look different.
The funny thing is, now that you mention it, I can think of a lot of frames that are doing that now.
A lot of people, yeah.
Daylight's doing that. DK started doing that with the pros.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of people have been doing that. And when people say, oh, it looks like that, I'm like, well, first of all, GT was like really the first ones when they did the freestyle bikes. They had that bend to begin with, but now it's to the next level.
Talk a little bit about what the design process is like for designing something like this.
So, I went factory direct. So, went online searching for different manufacturers. And I got lucky, like the second manufacturer I reached out to, they were very helpful in the process. I had a lot of ideas in my head and sent them a basic idea, and then they hit me back with what I'm trying to, convey to them. And then it's really like just a back and forth thing. It's a communication thing, you want it a certain way, and then they'll tell you, what they can and can't do. And then, they send you a proof, and, they send you all the different designs that you come up with, and you agree on it. And then once you agree on it, they send it to you. And that's the scary part, because I'm like, okay, in my head I have it the way I want it, design-wise and welding-wise, but you don't really know until you actually get a sample. And I got lucky. The first sample was really great. There were some geometry things that I wanted to change at first, but the first sample is what really made me be like, wow, this is really, really happening, because it was like they really did a good job, Right now, I only have a handful left. You can get them on sugarcane.com. That's actually in the shop. If you want the direct link is store.sugarcane.com. These two frames right here are available. I have two more 24-inch frames left, and that's pretty much it, man. And I won't be having any until next year, which will be the collaboration I'm doing with Naughty by Nature. We're doing a collaboration frame.
Talk about what you're going to be doing for the rest of the year to wrap this thing up.
I'm going to be building up this series I'm doing, the 40 and over, BMX racing over 40. It's been picking up a lot of steam. People are really enjoying that, and just want to showcase older guys doing it, because people, you know, they just think BMX is a kid sport, and to see older guys doing it and actually, you know, the behind the scenes and how they feel about it, it really helps to grow the sport, truthfully, to be honest with you, you know. I don't make it exclusively 40 and over. I do, you know, showcase the younger guys and younger kids, but, you know, we like to show the older guys because, you know, you're going to get old sooner or later. And, you know, everybody's active now, and it's something that not really talked about or really emphasized enough, riding at an older age, you know what I mean?
Right on.
So definitely want to cover that. But I'm also doing everything else. Going to start covering more events like I used to. Going to start incorporating everything really with bikes. So hip-hop BMX, you know, comic book BMX, illustration BMX, you know, because, you know, that's what people really gravitate to on the website. So I'm just going to kind of really focus on bikes and as it relates to the world, basically.
Right on.
Huge thanks once again to Al for giving us a few minutes of his time. If you want to know more about anything you saw in this video, there will be links down in the description below. And of course, thank you for watching. Now I have to do the YouTube thing and say if you liked what you saw, like the video, share it around, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Hopefully I'll have more of these types of videos coming soon. You can also find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter to keep up with all the things that we do here.
Awesome, we got it.
I'm going to say back to you, Billy, because that's the thing.
Oh, go for it.
Back to you, Billy.